Welcome back to my humble abode. We are powered up and ready to build a factory. So I have some pretty good plans for this quote-unquote factory. I'm going to draft this idea right here on my computer. So the idea here is to create individual processing stations. So we're going to have to add the refinery, assembler, a cargo terminal, connector, some sorters and pipes, some mods, and lastly some decorations. So let's take a look at what this whole system is going to do. So basically, I was coming up with some kind of processing style so that we can generate specific items per station. So as you can see here, there's a steel plate station. And what this is going to do is going to process iron ore to ingots and then process into steel plates. And we could grab it by going to the terminals right here, or this specific connector, which more or less I may or may not be connecting into it with a ship that's going to be welding. I kind of plan it out to throw it into a collector style type of situation. So the factory should have a bunch of these stations to include things like the interior plates and also construction components and down the list. So basically anything in production here. So I'm thinking most things, but not everything, because we don't need to produce like gravity components all the time. We don't need to do metal components all the time. So those things could still be various items. So we just need some things that are more steel plate, interior plates, construction components, large steel tubes, motors, small steel tubes, things like that. All right, so this station is currently not connected, but its purpose is to connect it into the main cargo containers to extract iron ores. And this is the entry point right over here. So iron ore is going to get right into this pipe, into this sorter, which is only allowing iron ore in terms of whitelist. Goes right into the refinery, where it's going to refine it into iron ingots. When it refines to iron ingots, it's going to come out from this sorter, which is whitelisting iron ingot only. And it's going to flow into this cargo container to fill up as much as possible. Once that's filled in, it's going to go to this tube and into the assembler, where the assembler is going to produce only steel plates. So generally, we're going to have a production point like this, throw in a few steel plates, and have it repeat. So it just constantly loads up as much steel plates as possible. And once that's done, it's going to go through this sorter, which is only accepting steel plates, into this connector, and also to this cargo terminal. So that way we could grab the steel plates from here or from here, which is kind of redundant, but we did it for now. So the way this is going to work, if we have a ship that has a collector either on the rear or on the side of the ship, which I'm planning to do a smaller version, so you can kind of weld up everything that's here on the platforms. As you know, doing this by hand is going to take quite some time, so we need a welding ship. And instead of connecting it into a connector right away, we just wanted to eject the steel plate so we could catch it with our collector sitting right beside it. And how we're going to do that? Well, we're going to do it with a sensor. So just to show you what it looks like, throw the fuel range on. We're going to have a collector or a large ship or maybe a small ship just pass by right here in the connector. Once it gets into this field, it's going to trigger it to start spitting out the steel plates. And once it spits out the steel plates, it's going to run for however many seconds it takes to fill up the ship's cargo, which I'm thinking maybe 10 seconds for now. It would then trigger the sensor to also turn off at the same time, so that when you're still on it, it's not going to constantly trigger the timer. I'm not sure exactly how that kind of works, if it does, but to ensure it doesn't trigger too much, we turn it off, give it a bit of a red light for 2 seconds to indicate that, you know, the sensor's coming back on, so you might pull away or pull out. And the sensor is going to turn right back on. So we could do this with some steel plates, which we have a good chunk of. Not a lot, but decent amount. I'll set this to detect player for the time being. So here's what's going to happen. Once we get right here, triggers, and it's going to spit out the steel plates right there for 10 seconds. And if you have a collector, it'll just kind of glide right into it, which is going to be perfect. And it looks like it ran out steel plates. But once the 10 seconds up, you have the red light, and it's going to turn back on. So the sensor is completely back on, where if it touches again, we will try to get it filled up. So we're going to have to time it so that it fills up exactly how much it's going to take to fill up a ship or cargo. So that way it'll be quicker to load up a welding ship instead of, you know, trying to guide into the connector and everything like that and then get back to work. So this should work out okay, but it's gonna depend on how I'm gonna design that ship, whether it's gonna be a large ship, small ship, or whether it's gonna be in the side or in the back. I think if it's on the side, it'll be easier because I can just fly by here, collect, and keep on going. It also depends on me making sure that this is off, otherwise it's gonna suck that steel plate right back in here. Honestly, I don't know if I want to keep it here, but for now, I think it should be a decent idea. I don't have any iron ingots now, so I'm not going to pipe it through our system, but for the time being, we could probably throw in some iron in here and test it out. But first, we're going to need some iron. And of course, to get some iron, we're going to use this mining saddle, as I called it, and get it from there. But I do want to change this up again. I don't like that it's here because when I'm mining straight in, this becomes an issue. So I'm going to have to change it back what it was before. That's a bit of a pain, but I did shift over the thrusters. It used to be here, and now it's here to give us 5 cross. So then we should have more space so that we don't burn the cargo container. So let's just take out this. Alright, so we changed out the connector to be where it was before. So we can easily grab this from the tail end. Like so. I know if it's a little bit off, it's going to get burned a little bit. But I guess we can kind of tilt it as much as we can to get perfect. I could also get the strength to be a little bit higher if we want to go that route, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we're good here. Last time I had it like this, it was burning, but it looks like we're fine. All right, now it's time to get our closest iron right over there. All right, we got our ore, so we're gonna try to get in from this end today instead of the front end for whatever reasons. And this thing is quite heavy, so luckily we left this one open so we can get through. The rear one over there is kind of barricaded, so that's a little rough to get through. But now we can actually connect this connector into that connector if we wanted to, or we could just manually transfer some stuff out for now. But I think we're not too big. So we could definitely do this. Right, actually no, there's a one-way system, so we got this all wrong. So we'll just grab the iron ores and generally throw it in the refinery, I guess. So we should get a whole bunch of steel plates within either cargo or this connector. Yeah, so we could put an event controller saying that like when these are full to stop the refinery and turn it off. But I don't think it's necessary. What's going to happen is once it fills up, it's probably just going to stop refining anyways. We'll see how true that is in a second. So if we really, really wanted to, we could do an event controller and place it right on the side here. So that when this cargo container is completely filled, we'll turn off the refinery so that it doesn't turn back on. But it's going to create a nonsense loop. Because once it goes below a threshold, it's going to turn on for a few seconds and come back on. So I think for just stuffing it through like this should be fine. Of course, there was a bit of a flaw in the system. We had the cargo container right here, which when it's assembling the steel plates, it dumps it back into that cargo container, and it can't go back in through here. So to fix this, we did another cargo container right here, or replaced it, and put a sorter here. So this way, this cargo container only collects the iron ingots for the assembler, and the assembler sorter here, and the cargo systems here will collect only the steel plates. So, bit of a mistake, but we fixed it. So once everything's filled up, as you see here, the assembler is completely filled. It can't accept any more steel plates. The cargo container or terminal and the connectors all completely filled up. So it can't receive anymore. But is the refinery still going to run? It probably would run and throw out the ingots right over here. Which we have ingots, yeah. So definitely have ingots here, but it's not running the assembler because it's filled up. But the moment it gets removed from the connector, it should start reproducing once again. So to put that to the test, we could get to the sensor range, let it spit some steel plates out, and see if it's gonna produce any more. So it's gonna start spitting out steel plates, and the assembler sounds like it's running again, and it's gonna produce more steel plates there. So that is perfect. It's exactly what we wanted, but the unfortunate piece is that within 10 seconds, we spit out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a little bit over 6K worth of steel plates will be shot out of that connector if we pass by it with the ship. So a small cargo container, large grid only holds about 1,000. So we probably need to reduce that a lot more. So even if we make a big ship with a large cargo container, a small grid is the same as this leader. So it's not going to be able to carry a lot. So we got to reduce the timer a little bit. So the timer that we need to reduce is going to be timer number 2. So that actually might just be like maybe 3 seconds worth of timing, I think. So let's see how many it spits out. So we got 1 bunch, 2 bunch, and that's it, right? Yeah, that's 1.6k of steel plates, which isn't terrible. All right, so a small grid, large cargo container, if we can fill it up with these steel plates, it will be roughly 5208. And each bunch is about 834, so we need about 6 bunches to spit out. All right, so we should do 7 seconds, and that should be it. So we're gonna have batch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and nope, we need a little bit more. That's 5. All right, so 8 seconds. That should fix it, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and shut it down. Looks like I need to fix the lighting. So when does it turn red again? All right, so I changed it to 1 second difference, but I should probably, instead of do 1 second, have this timer trigger timer block 3, which is to turn the lights red. So I should probably put timer block 3 to turn the lights red immediately. So instead of start, we can do trigger now. So now if we get into it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 turns red, and then it should fix itself in 4 seconds. There, perfect. So the next thing to do here is basically going to be, let's blueprint this so that we can weld it all up and have a bit of a production line. I don't even know if I want to leave it here because we didn't even create rooms yet. I kind of want to hollow everything out first, then make some rooms. But for now, since I also need it, I need a production line of stuff instead of just this one refinery doing everything. I mean, I could add like 5 refineries, let it do everything on its own. But what fun is that? All right, we got a helm here and a projector here. And let's see, we probably need to change this projector name to production stations. So we have that. So we bring out the blueprint of the production station. Okay, so that's the production station, and it's flipped off the wrong way, I guess. So we're gonna have to figure this out. Which way is it supposed to be? Let me bring it up a little bit first. Do we roll it or yaw it? It looks like we can yaw it, and then we have to roll it. Nope, not roll. I guess pitch in this case now. Here we go. So that's where we want it to kind of be. So in this case, we'll go into a helm, and what we're gonna do is basically go to the projection here. We're gonna do something makes it life easier. Increase and decrease horizontal. We're gonna also do increase, decrease vertical, which we won't need once we get it in the right spot anyways, but we're gonna have to do it for now. Same thing with forward in this case. Pitch and everything we don't need, so we'll be fine. So now we just bring this thing down. And we want to bring it a little bit to the right-hand side. So we don't want to get too close. We could, but we could get it, I think, right around there. Might be fine. We could have it touching. Would that be an issue? I don't see that being an issue. So if we wanted to, we could bring it like this. And that should be fine. So we could print this one and then print the next one. We could even potentially build on top if we want to get multiple layers. But the only problem we build on top is that it'll be a little bit more difficult for me to climb up to grab from the cargo terminal. Although we have jetpacks, so it wouldn't be a big deal either. So we could try it as an example though, right? So if we wanted to go up, we can do that. And just kind of like put it right there. Is that, yeah, equivalent to where I want it? It could work out this way, except the stairs. We gotta work on some kind of stair system to loop around, if anything, which wouldn't be too difficult. So then that way we can collect steel plates down here. We can collect interior plates up here, maybe something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, I think we're just gonna bring it down and just build it right next to each other. All right, so I'm not sure how effective this may be, but I put a few welders that are not connected to any other systems or anything like that. They're just kind of free roaming with a little bit of materials and just kind of have it weld that way if possible. I mean, it should work out okay, I believe, unless it runs out of materials. Yeah, that didn't get far. All right, so that's as far as we can get it for today. I guess we're running out of materials and everything like that. But we got 3 of the many production stations up and running. So we got the steel plate version, interior plates, and also construction components. So we still need like small steel tubes, large steel tubes, motors, things like that. And I did think about it also. This one will help fulfill all steel plates for a welding ship to weld to the floor, as I'll pack up the cargo container and things like that. But we don't need that much interior plates and that much construction components to fill up all the way. I mean, we could do that initially, which I think if we do interior walls, we may need to do something like that. But we could set them up to be like 3 seconds, 5 seconds each, just to get a few bunch of each material. And then ship could just kind of fly by and just collect steel plates, collect interior plates, collect construction components and motors and things like that. So we could do it that way. So it just runs down the line just to collect everything, which would be pretty interesting to do, but also kind of doesn't really make that much sense. If that becomes a bottleneck, we could probably put a connector, a collector right in front of the connector itself, so it funnels into one specific thing that can dump out a whole bunch of material for us too. So that's a possibility also, but I don't think we're gonna go that route just yet. We're gonna stick with this route and see how it goes, because it needs a lot of material to weld up the whole entire station. We still got a whole bunch of drilling to do in terms of like drilling out the side, even up top a little bit, because we want to make it a little taller. And we're gonna try to leave the outer piece closed with the asteroid for now, just in case something does attack us. At least it's centralized into the 4 waypoints instead of the entire system. So I'll probably do a few things back end to finish up the production, or quote unquote the factory of materials. So actually I hope this episode was a little helpful in terms of creating some kind of assembly factory such as this. And if it does, I hope you would like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, even just say hi. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.